right, back now with a Fox News alert. New York City on high alert today after an attempted lone wolf attack carried out by an ISIS fanatic. The second attack in just about 6 weeks.
So how can we combat lone wolves and protect soft targets like Times Square? Joining us now, former New York City police officer and Army veteran, Dr. Darrin Porcher. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What's the #1 thing we should be doing to protect ourselves?
One of the things that goes back to this campaign, see something, say something. We live in a city of 8.5 million people. However, we only have a police department of 38,000 cops. 38,000 cops pales in comparison to the intelligence that can be elicited from the public. So the public plays a germane role in this, coupled with the innovations and technological advancement in law enforcement, such as drone maintenance and things to that effect. Video plays a key role in here, but ultimately we need the information from the public itself.
But to follow up on that, sorry, real quick, Rob, just as technology advances for police officers, it also advances for us as civilians who are walking the streets. Everyone's on their phone. How do you stop that?
Well, that's a real problem that we have. Everyone is buried in their buried in their cell phones, or they're listening to their headphones, and tunnel vision comes into play. Remember, you're protecting your fellow citizen here, so it's incumbent upon us as New Yorkers to gain that information and give it to the proper authorities and law enforcement. Another thing with law enforcement, we can't maintain the consistent policies that we have, such as roadblocks in the same place every day. We need to switch it up. We need to move it around. We need to keep the terrorists off guard so they can't effectively plan a strategy moving forward.
You guys foil the bulk of these attempts. I know you guys do such a great job with surveillance in this city, and the whole city is under camera watch and other things like that, but some are just going to slip through. I think, is that the sad reality of the situation? I mean, how are you ever going to be able to get every single person that's trying to do something like this? You can, like the guy said just a few minutes ago, you can build a bomb just off the internet and take it down to the subway. I mean, how are they ever going to prevent all of these?
You know, you bring up a valid point. When we look at the precedents for these lone wolf attacks, we look at what happened yesterday and we look at the attack that happened in October. These were lone wolf attacks that were inspired by ISIS. They're the most difficult attacks to provide a fortification for, but it goes back to what I mentioned. The drone maintenance can be an effective tool in combating this terrorist attack moving forward, because the police department can only do but so much. We need to get more out there. And I give you an example of just being overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. We use drones, and they were a valuable tool in combating the caliphates and the terrorists overseas.
But what would the drones have done yesterday in the case where this was underground?
That's a very difficult situation. When you have an underground attack, a drone wouldn't have been the effective means. However, we look at the overall perspective. I want to say universally, these attacks occur outside and not inside. So that's where the drones would have come into play. When we take in consideration a subway car, then we need to ramp up the video and the audio in these subway cars and make sure that we have the law enforcement on the other side of this that can direct forces accordingly to thwart these types of attacks moving forward.
A lot of groups are fighting so much surveillance and you know, the big brother mentality that a lot of people believe keeps us safe here. Is that a scary thought that, you know, you could, I mean, when we took back stop and frisk, or at least they attempted to try and get rid of stop and frisk, things like that keep people safe in a city this big? I mean, if you start to, you know, remove some of the powers of the police, that's the risk you take, is that we're going to have more attacks. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the ACLU seems to be an enemy of law enforcement. Right. Moving forward, I mean, they fought caller ID. Just think about that when caller ID came into play. This is an arduous task. It's a fight. But at the same token, I believe that the president is installing the necessary justices in the court system that are going to help us to alleviate these burdens coming from groups like the ACLU, etc.
All right, okay. Dr. Darrin Porcher, thank you, and let's be thankful that it was not as bad as it could have been yesterday.
Absolutely.
We got lucky. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right.